All right, we're just ending our day 2 on the wonderful f250. It was a good day. I heavily focused on getting the engine torn down. After reviewing the data and taking the turbo off, got the turbo all back together and all unseized, and looking at how the carbon ring was and everything like that, I decided to have a little bit better look at where the oil was coming from, and it was real apparent it was kind of coming down the back corners from the valley, and it didn't look very good, obviously, around the oil cooler, which sits down in this cavity right here. You can kind of see how the oil comes from the front cover up into this reservoir, which feeds the high pressure oil pump, which sits here, is driven by the cam. That tube in the back feeds these injector rails on either side, and uses hydraulic fluid to push down the injector. Intensifier, quick and easy Huey breakdown there for you. But so one thing that I noticed here is, see, you can see these, that's called a dummy plug or a standpipe. There's one in the front, one in the back, because they're interchangeable. But that's I can notice right away is it's an old style one. So it's a 10 millimeter head rather than a 12 millimeter Allen head to pull that out. So those were really problematic because they didn't quite understand this whole Huey gig yet, and it ended up wearing the seals out prematurely. So Ford ended up working with International, and they came out with this this new style one, right, which is like a bigger 12 millimeter Allen head, and they put these little washers, these nylon washers here to stop the flutter of these little seals, right, and it worked really well. The other thing that they updated was the fitting on this high pressure oil pump. This is what charges up those high pressure rails, and it discharges on this fitting here, and it's what they call the snap to connect. Now, this one didn't appear to be failing, but we're down this far, and I think it was actually leaking from that cover, from probably somebody replacing this, possibly, maybe a Ford dealership, and but it's out, and we want to reseal it anyways, so we'll just put the newer one. This screen that sits in that valley that feeds the pump in that oil cooler area, that's all ripped up, which actually went through the IPR valve, wherever that thing is. Here we go. I should take that out so we can repair it. That fitting kit comes with this screen, right? And that screen's expensive like crazy. It's only another like 20 bucks to get the whole kit to update the pump. So, and this looks like one of those cheap Chinese screens. That's no good, right? Can't be throwing Chinesium at this thing. Not good. So we'll just put a proper Ford screen on that. So then it brought us down to the, what's really started the majority of this teardown was this Egr valve. Like, look how plugged up that is, right? Like this, you know, you're supposed to be able to see through that, and, you know, and when they get this bad, I don't know, maybe you can clean it, but I don't know how you would get all the crap out of there. And so, you know, it's junk, right? So that went, intake went, then having a look down on this intake, it's plugged solid, right? So that explains the insufficient flow code, I would imagine. I don't know how it figures all that stuff out, but that thing can go see you later anyways. And then taking it apart, this tower here, it was our real big surprise when I pulled the filter out. It's like, oh, that's not the correct filter for this tall cap. That be's a short factory filter, right? And oh, there's the rest of the stem, right? You know, that sits on top of the oil cooler, broke off. So this was not filtering oil. Like, you guys really got to understand how this works. I mention it every single time, but there's a tall cap and a short cap. And you can't mix the two up. You can't put a short filter and a tall cap. So, and you know, and these things are like 50 bucks, right? You know, I'm not going to open this one up and get it all dirty right now, but I assure you it's about an inch shorter than the other one. And these aren't supposed to come off of these tall caps. So See, look at that. Right now, you have to understand really how important when it sits on this stem that it seals into that stem and it pushes down on that drain back valve. Otherwise, it just won't make it up the stem. Well, the stem jiggling around in there broke off anyways. But so this engine was likely getting very poor engine filtration, which is concerning. But it seems to still run okay. Hopefully we caught it in time. So the oil cooler, see, this is broke down now. That's the cooler, right? So that'll be replaced with a Dorman unit. You know, it's not as good as the factory, but you know, they work fine. I've put a lot of them in. They work okay. Right, here's our STC snap to connect fitting kit. Yeah, so you get a solid one. It's just screws right in, and a little alignment tool. You know, new screen, all the new gaskets. It's fantastic, right? Got some new seals here. This is the EGR delete. That'll replace that whole goofy plugged up cooler. So that should tie up the engine. Typical things, right? I've fished out a couple of nice brand new looking injectors out of the last engine, actually, the one that we pulled out of this truck in front of us here. So hopefully those recycle well. We're gonna put one of those blue spring kits in here just to bump up the fuel pressure a little bit. If it doesn't already have one, hasn't had all the other stuff, so it probably doesn't have that correction as well. And they're cheap, right? It's off. It's very little labor to put one in, less than $50 including parts. So that's fantastic. See how the front end's coming along here. So we got some nice ball joints nestled in here. Happy like crazy. This turbocharger is all rebuilt and VGT moving well. The hubs, they don't seem to be okay, you know, they seem fine, right? I don't know if they're original or not. It's a little hard to tell, but now she'll roll real nice. Here's our other one. Nice new ball joints in there. And here's our short axle shaft. Nice spanky new U-joint in there. Here's our inner seals. We decided that when I looked down the tube, the inner seal didn't look like it was installed correctly, and it wasn't. And then I had a look at the fluid, and there's a nice clean stainless steel pan, right? And that fluid looked pretty black, so I figured we'd replace that. And replacing those inner seals involves removing the carrier. So that's out. We cleaned that up. It looks nice. You know, we don't see any pitting or anything wrong with the bearings. The teeth look nice and sharp. So that's good. See, we got the new updated dust seal on the outside in that one, and then we'll be putting the new seals in there, right? So that all looks nice and clean inside. So yeah, that's where we're at for day 2, and get a little bit of cleaning done and assembly here maybe tonight yet. And I figure one more good day, she should be pretty well back together, and then maybe a day of screwing around with it. Might put some extra time into like cleaning up the intake manifold. You know, just getting that a little bit cleaner. Sometimes when they're gooey like that, it's a good idea just to cook them with the Tiger torch and clean out all the sensors. We'll take this guy's probably plugged solid, right? We'll clean up the intake air sensor, and see, look at all that crap in there. We got to get that going. It's like throwing sand in your engine. So, but yeah, typical stuff. It looks like a lot. It looks really overwhelming, but as you can see, we're used to it, and we work pretty efficiently and like a team. So yeah, this old girl should be back hauling around skid steers and burning tires off in the next couple of days.